In the small town of Valebrum lived Ronan, a middle-aged man, tall, with light brown hair and grey eyes, always filled with impatience. He was known for his sharp tongue. He complained about the weather, criticized his co-workers, and never spared harsh words. At home, his family had already started avoiding conversation with him. "I just speak the truth," he would say, unaware of the weight his words carried. One night, he went out to clear his mind. The streets were silent, except for the distant rumble of thunder. As he turned the corner, he saw a familiar figure. An old woman, around 80 years old, with long white hair, sat on the sidewalk, wrapped in a torn blanket. Around her were worn playing cards, oddly shaped stones, and carved pieces of wood. Everyone in town called her the witch. They said those who mocked her were cursed with bad luck or nightmares. But Ronan never believed in such stories. And, as always, he wouldn't miss the chance to say what he thought. "Still playing with that nonsense old woman," he muttered, crossing his arms. The old woman looked up at him, a mysterious glow dancing in her pupils. There was no anger in her expression, no fear, only an impenetrable calm. "The words that come out of your mouth do not belong only to you," she said. "They leave marks." Ronan let out a mocking laugh, shaking his head in disbelief. "Marks?" he repeated, followed by an ironic chuckle. Without replying, the woman pulled out a small, old mirror. The frame was metal, darkened by time, and the glass shimmered in an unusual way. "Here, since you believe your words have no power, look at yourself every time you speak." Ronan grabbed the mirror without ceremony, just to show he wasn't impressed, but the moment his fingers touched the object, a chill ran through his entire body. For a brief second, he had the strange feeling that his own reflection was staring back at him, with a gaze that wasn't quite his own. He shook his head, brushing off the silly thought. Without a word of thanks, he shoved the mirror into his coat pocket and turned to leave. "You should find something better to do." The woman just smiled and returned to her cards. That night, he didn't think about it again. But the next morning, when he looked in the mirror, he noticed something was different. The next morning, Ronan woke up, feeling heavy. He walked to the bathroom, washed his face, and lifted his eyes to the mirror. That's when something made him stop. His reflection seemed normal, but for a moment, he had the impression that something was off. His eyes looked deeper, the dark circles more intense. He frowned and leaned closer. "I need to sleep better," he muttered. He carried on with his routine, brushing off the discomfort. But throughout the day, he began to notice something strange. Every time he said something rude or complained, he felt a sting on his skin, like a cold shiver. At work, when a colleague spilled coffee near his desk, he didn't miss the chance. "You're really clumsy, huh? Can't do anything right." The moment the words left his mouth, he felt a tug at his face. Startled, he went to the office bathroom and looked in the mirror. He froze. A dark mark had appeared at the corner of his mouth, like a shapeless shadow. He rubbed his skin, but it wouldn't go away. The day went on, and as always, Ronan criticized everything around him. The lunch, the traffic, a new employee. Each time he uttered harsh words, he felt that uncomfortable sting on his face. At night, when he looked at himself in the bedroom mirror, a chill ran down his spine. The marks had multiplied. Deep wrinkles had formed on his forehead, and his dark circles were as if he hadn't slept in days. His skin looked duller, as if it were aging rapidly. The mirror reflected something that wasn't just exhaustion. It was something darker, heavier, more cruel. It didn't make any sense. The next morning, his wife frowned when she saw him. "Are you okay? You look different." His son hesitated before speaking. "Dad, your face looks weird. Are you sick?" At work, whispers spread. "Wow, it looks like he aged 10 years in a week," someone murmured. "He looks awful." "What do you think happened?" said another colleague. Ronan tried to ignore it, but he could feel people's eyes on him wherever he went. And worse, with every new complaint or cruel remark, his appearance grew even worse. Fear gripped his chest. That night, unable to sleep, he grabbed the mirror the old woman had given him. He approached it hesitantly, and the moment he saw himself, he took a step back. The reflection was worse than ever. His face was unrecognizable, his eyes sunken in dark shadows. Deep wrinkles slashed across his skin. It looked like decades had passed over him overnight. His heart raced. This can't be happening. Desperate, he threw on his coat and rushed through the streets of Valabrum. The cold wind and the first drops of rain didn't stop him. He had to find the old woman, and when he got there, she was in the same spot. He knelt down without the arrogance he once carried. His eyes were wide, his breathing heavy. "What's happening to me?" he asked, and his voice came out almost as a whisper. The old woman lifted her eyes and looked at him for a long moment. Then, with the same calm as always, she replied, "You're seeing, for the first time on the outside, what has always been inside you." The sentence hit him like a blow. He blinked, confused, but the truth was too simple to ignore. That dark-aged, heavy reflection, it had always existed. It had always been there, hidden beneath the surface. He remembered every time he made someone look away, the conversations that ended in uncomfortable silence, the frustrated expressions around him. His face had only begun to carry those visible marks now, but inside he had always carried them. He swallowed hard. "But I didn't do anything. I just said what I think." The old woman tilted her head slightly. "And your words never mattered to you, did they? But to others, they always mattered." Ronan felt his chest tighten. For the first time he thought of words as something that didn't just come out of him, but that hit others, like invisible arrows, leaving marks no one could see. Until now, he looked at the old mirror in his hands. His reflection was worse than ever. But what if there was a way to change it? "How do I fix this? How do I make it stop?" he pleaded. The woman leaned slightly forward, her eyes filled with infinite patience. "If words can destroy, they can also heal. Try using them differently." Ronan felt his heart race. Could it really be that simple? He hesitated, took a deep breath, and then, for the first time in a long while, he said something different. "Thank you." At that very moment, he felt a chill sweep across his face, like a light breeze, as if something had been released from within him. When he looked at the mirror, he saw that one of the dark spots had disappeared. His eyes widened, but before he could get too excited, the old woman raised a finger and warned, "Words without feeling are empty. You need to feel them." Ronan frowned. "What does that mean?" She pointed to the mirror. "Try saying something good, but not just with your mouth. Say it with your heart." Ronan stood still for a moment. He never thought before speaking, never reflected on what he said. But now, he had to find something real. He closed his eyes. He thought of his wife, who always made him coffee even when he forgot to thank her. He thought of his son, who still tried to talk to him despite all the harsh words. He opened his eyes, looked at the old woman and said, "I'm sorry." Another shiver, another spot disappearing, his chest filled with a strange feeling, something he didn't know how to name. But for the first time in years, he felt peace. Inside himself, he looked up at the woman, who simply watched him. She repeated, "Keep going, but don't fake it. You have to feel it." Ronan swallowed hard. He didn't know if he could. He didn't know if he had anything inside him beyond complaints, but he had to try. In the days that followed, Ronan tried. At first, every kind word felt strange, like it didn't belong to him. Saying thank you felt like an effort. Sorry burned his throat. But something incredible happened every time he managed to be sincere. The shadows on his face faded. The marks that once seemed like invisible scars slowly disappeared. Every time he praised someone, or simply chose not to say something cruel, he felt relief, as if lifting a weight off his shoulders. And without realizing it, it wasn't just his reflection that was changing. It was the way he saw life. For the first time, he noticed how people seemed to relax around him, how smiles came more easily, how the days felt lighter. The kinder his words became, the lighter he felt, until one simple moment, perhaps when, thanking his wife for breakfast or telling his son he was proud of him, Ronan felt his heart at peace. That's when he understood every word we speak comes from what we carry inside. If we carry resentment, they come out sharp. If we carry love, they come out soft. The voice is nothing more than the reflection of what lives in our heart, and when he realized that, he finally understood the true power of every word. One day, holding the old mirror in his hands, Ronan realized it was time to return it, but this time, he wouldn't go empty-handed. He stopped at the market, bought some food, and before leaving, picked up a new blanket. He walked through the streets of Valabrum with a different purpose, and when he reached the old woman, he handed her the mirror with one hand, and with the other gave her the basket. She looked at him for a moment, and then smiled. From that day on, at least once a week, Ronan returned to see her. He brought food, exchanged a few words, and over time, he realized it wasn't just the old woman who had changed his life. He himself had changed. The mirror was no longer necessary. He had learned to see beyond the reflection. I hope this video helped you understand that everything we see in our lives is a reflection of our inner world. Words hold immense power, the power to build or destroy, to hurt or heal, to transform or imprison. And you, how have you been using your words? If this story made you reflect and you want to receive more videos like this with stories that touch the soul and teach life lessons, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. And never forget, what we choose to say not only shapes the world around us, but defines who we are inside.